low-level action with River Raid. River Raid is a 1982 game from Activision, programmed by Carol Shaw. Started life on the Atari 2600 on a 4K cartridge, and that's where we're going to begin. And I don't have a 2600, so we're going to have a quick look at the original on emulation via my Raspberry Pi. So you fly along, well, a river, hence the name River Raid, and shoot the baddies. They shoot back at you. You can speed up and slow down. You can move left and right, but you can't move up the screen. It's 2600 fare, but the thing is, it's rather good 2600 fare. It fits all this into just 4K. You can't vary your height. You just move left and right within the river basin. So if you hit the green, you're dead. At the end of each section, you must blow a bridge, which also acts as a checkpoint. So if you die, you just return to the last checkpoint, which is rather nice. As you fly along, your fuel depletes and you have to fly over the fuel depots in order to boost it up again. 1 million copies sold of this on the 2600, and also released on the 5200, the Atari 8-bit, the MSX, C64, IBM PC Junior, ColecoVision and Intellivision. And I'm going to be looking at, well, the home computer versions today, or at least the home computers as available in the UK and that I actually own. It's a rather good game, and it gets hard very quickly. You can see how narrow the channels are now you can fly through, and how much more there is around, and how less fuel there is, and the tighter turns as I reach the next checkpoint. It's rather good. Like Keystone Capers, it's one of those must-own 2600 games. The coder Carol Shaw also did the 5200 version and the Atari 8-bit version, the home computer versions, which is where we're going to go. So we'll be expecting something enhanced from the 2600, and we've got it. We've got more detailed edges to the river. It's strange coming over from that very clean emulated footage to the real deal. That's slightly murky S-video output from the Atari 130 XE. This is how it's supposed to look. That's why we do it this way on this channel. So there's no time limit other than the fact your fuel depletes. So you can fly really slowly and it doesn't matter. The game gradually ramps up the difficulty with baddies firing back. And here we are on the MSX. And it's rather fast and smooth, isn't it? Looks very nice. Feels a little bit different from those Atari versions. More detailed riverbanks yet again. Different baddies give you different scores. And you can see the hardware sprites are being used here to good effect. A dead there. There is an option for a 2-player mode, but it is turn-based. So, really, yeah. I'm not going to have to show that because it just flips between you and the other player. The game's quite generous with extra planes as well. I can't see at the moment what... oh, no, you see there's a tank that will start firing at you. And as you go on, it gets harder and harder. Yes, there are bonus planes at various score levels, so that helps out a lot. On the 2600, the game code does not actually store the sequence of terrain and other objects. So it's all generated on a pseudo-random number generator. C64 version. But I don't know if that translates to the other versions, because on the 2600 you've got 4K to play with and you want to make the game good, so you've got to randomise it up somehow. Gently fly along, pick up a bit of fuel. Blowing the bridge activates the checkpoint, so as soon as you see it, shoot it. If you just get killed just before the bridge, when you restart you'll be at the bridge. Spectrum version, and that's number wang. Yes, that's a confusing menu, isn't it? At least it lets you start later into the game. All the bridges are numbered, and that's the level, so you can see bridge 1 here on the Spectrum. So it's a little bit more basic on the Spectrum. I had this with my Spectrum 48 Plus. There was a copy on a Boots cassette when I bought it. And I loaded it up and played it and went, yeah, this isn't much copy, isn't it? I didn't really give it any time because it wasn't an original game and I had original games to play. And yet, actually, it ain't bad. The plane flying sound effect sounds a bit like the noise your UHF TV would make sometimes if the Spectrum had a lot of white on the screen. You know that noise. That one. It's that noise. Clear the bridge. It's very basic on the Spectrum, and it's the scrolling is 8x8. Is it doing 8x8? Potentially it is. It's not very smooth. You come from the MSX and then you go, oh. Back to the Atari 8-bit, where Carol Shaw has made this game a visible improvement from the 2600 version, just making it all a step up. So it's the River Raid you love, but it is an improvement. Of course, this game influences so much going forward. Back on the MSX, I do like these MSX visuals, and it's so smooth. It's all rather nice. That's bridge 6 gone. Oh, no. Accidentally gone into the cliff there. Just a quick plug for ChinnyVision 2, which is linked in the description below. More rough and ready videos and more different topics and random things that are just of interest to me. And there is the ChinnyVision podcast as well, which is a very occasional thing where I speak to people about how they got into the hobby, what it means to them, and the computers and things that they own. Back on the 64. Yeah, so many other games try and do this, and yeah, some of them are better, but they're not quite like River Raid, with this gentle ramping up of the difficulty. It really is trying to get that arcade feel in your home, although the game doesn't originate in the arcade. It really feels like a game you could be playing in the arcade. And the quality at the time, that that 2600 version, if you got that early doors, then yeah, it is an arcade in your home. It's not a Pong game. It's not like a lot of 2600 games that involve balls and things, a single screen. It really is that arcade feel. Whereas the Spectrum version just feels like an early Spectrum game. I mean, you would have been quite pleased with this if you just bought it at the time. Crash gave this 74%, but on re-release, Your Sinclair gave it 4 out of 10. Firebird re-released it for $1.99. And yeah, it would have felt old by that time. I think 87, 88, something like that. But it's still, this game still has something. One thing about it is the bullets move as you move the plane. So if you're moving left, the bullet you're firing, and there can only ever be one on the screen at a time, will move with you, and you can use that to your strategic advantage. You can get the bullets to go round things, or just aim early and then just move in for the kill. You can see it here on the Atari 8-bit version. As I'm moving, the bullet will follow you. It's always in front of the plane. It doesn't stay in the same place it was fired, if you see what I mean. Back on the Spectrum. Some weird colour clash at points. Really weird. Like, massively more than an 8x8 block. Yeah, I can't quite work out what's going on. Sometimes there's like the land colour interferes with the boat colours, but the land is clearly more than 8 pixels away. Yeah, weird. Early days. Right, this is bridge 22. And on many of these versions, but not the Spectrum, you'd be doing well to get this far. Certainly on the 2600 version and the MSX and the C64. Speaking of which, bridge 24 on the C64, and it's getting pretty hot now, as you can see. Narrow areas to fly through, lots and lots of baddies. Death everywhere. Luckily I've got infinite lives, but the game just continues to ramp it up like this. Just rather difficult, planes flying across. It's a difficult game, but on the Spectrum, here we are on Bridge 32, and well, it seems to get to a point on the Specky where it doesn't really get any harder. I was looking at a copy of this on the RZX archive, and someone managed to run it round to Bridge 255, at which point it loops back to 1. So I don't think that Spectrum version here has the finesse, certainly of those Atari versions, and the C64 as well. It's not quite there. River Raid, an iconic game on the 2600, and it still plays brilliantly on that system today. Apologies for the emulation, but I don't own one and didn't have a chance to get a cart in to plug into my 7800. On the UK home systems, well, C64, very polished, very nice. Same with the Atari 8-bit, and of course it's got the advantage of having the same coder as the original Carol Shaw, which means it's a completely authentic experience, but just improved, just updated, just for the better hardware. MSX version, love the visual look of it. It's so clean, and the scrolling and sprites are used to good effect. Nice to see that on the MSX. Spectrum version, it's early days for the Specky, and boy, this shows. It's just the scrolling is very poor, the sprites are really small, and as I say, you get to a certain point and the game doesn't appear to get any harder. River Raid is a game that shows its age today, but that 2600 version still has something about it. It's just a cut above many of the other titles on that system, with its vertical scrolling, with its constraints of where you can fly and where you can't fly, and that random generation of baddies that means every game is just slightly different. It just got that certain something that makes a game like this, as old as it is, stand out on that platform. Other versions, not so much, although if you do enjoy it in the 2600, obviously the Atari 8-bit version is from the same programmer and just ramps it all up a notch.